How would you feel being asked at the end of a date, "Can I kiss you?" My now husband phrased it as a statement, not a question. "I really want to kiss you right now," then pause for my reaction in a low, sexy voice. And it totally worked. I've had it asked before, and it was sweet. It seemed to be from guys who were more reserved, but also very respectful. Most of those weren't fireworks type kisses, but for many turned to fireworks after more dates. No reason not to start out small and work up to nicer things. I had this happen. I got stuck between yes and and ended somewhere that sounded like yud. He looked at me. I looked at him. I thought, maybe I should lean in and kiss him and break the tension. Started leaning in and then freaked out at the last second and bobbed my head like a chicken for a moment. Thankfully he thought all of the above was adorable and kissed me. I thought it was the sweetest question. Though, shame I had to be, well, me, about it. That is / super adorable. Don't worry. I think it's the idea that what caused all of that was you being flustered, which probably made him feel super confidently about how the date went and how you felt about him kissing you. Close bracket. Being asked like that, if I was into the guy, would be insanely hot to me. It shows confidence, in my opinion, as well as respect, and both are incredibly attractive traits. And if I didn't like the guy, then I'd even more rather he asked than just tried to go for it and making an extremely uncomfortable situation. So it's a good move either way. This has happened to me a few times, and it's great. I honestly like guys more when they do this. The reality is, if I don't want to kiss a guy and he just goes in for it, I stop him, and it's ultimately way I'm more awkward than if he had asked and I said no. One guy asked if he could kiss me. I said yes, and then went on to have one of my all-time best first kisses. 2 thumbs up. I went on this one date with someone, and he kissed me on the cheek. I was completely fine with it, and he did it a couple more times. Can't remember what I said, but I made a joke about it, and he said, "Well, I'd love to kiss you for real, but only if you say it's okay." I thought it was nice. Edit, but I've also been kissed without being asked, and I haven't minded. Most of the time it's because we've both dropped hints, so there's this unspoken consent there. Wouldn't bother me unless that you just completely misread everything. Although then I guess I'd be grateful he asked. So yeah, there's really no downside to this. My current partner did this. He tried to find kiss-themed candy, like Hershey Kisses, because his plan was to ask, "Can I give you a kiss?" and hand me candy if I said no. We are getting married in April, so I'd say it worked. Yes. Holy fuck. You can even do a lot more than just "Can I kiss you?" You could turn it into something really romantic by smiling mischievously and whispering, "I'd really like to kiss you right now." It's cute. It conveys your desire. It asks for consent. It's a panty dropper. For me. Anyway, everyone, please do this more. But don't do it because it's more likely to make us want to kiss you or anything. Do it because it's the right thing to do. If the chemistry is already there, it's super cute. I've had a guy ask me before kissing. It was great. We had both been drinking a bit and it was a first date, so I think he just wanted to be sure that we were on the same page, and we definitely were. It was both cute and oddly sexy. I was really nervous about where the poop would get physical, and it helped me relax about it. We made out a bit, and it was pretty dope. I'm also not of the opinion that you always have to verbally ask, "Can I kiss you?" before kissing someone. But if you're someone who has trouble reading body language, it's definitely the way to go. My now fiancé asked at the end of our first date, and it was lovely. He was very sweet but not pushy, made me feel at ease. My now boyfriend was so shy when we were first dating, lol. He's very respectful of me, and on one of our dates I could tell he wanted to kiss me but didn't want to seem too forward, so this talk asked me, what is your policy on kissing on dates? I couldn't stop laughing cause it was so endearing, and he kept stuttering until I leaned forward and kissed him. Happily together now, and has my best friend. My husband did this the first time he kissed me, and I found it incredibly cute. It made the moment really amazing, and I gained even more respect for him as well. If there's doubt, ask. My husband didn't ask to kiss me the first time, but I think I made it obvious and has good at reading body language. I had a guy ask me this once at the end of our date. I didn't really want to kiss because I didn't feel too much of a connection, even though he was super nice and sweet. However, I did feel like I wanted to see him again to see if we'd develop a connection over time. So I agreed to a kiss on the cheek, which seems so odd in my head now. Lol. I don't even remember if I was the one who kissed him or he kissed me. Needless to say, it didn't work out with him. But it was definitely better than him just going for it. That would been awkward. I guess I thought it was pretty sweet that he asked. Guy here. I'm not sure if I'm some weird minority here, but agreeing to a kiss on the cheek doesn't really seem that odd to me. It would be a cute middle ground in my opinion. I may only see it that way though, because I'm a cheeseball. You may be right. I don't know. I guess I just didn't want him to think that it was a rejection, and that I only agreed to a kiss on the cheek cause I felt sorry for him. I genuinely thought he was a great guy. It just wasn't the right moment for a kiss yet. At least for me. I would love this, and do love this. The guy I've been dating asked this when we were at the tail end of a date, and it made my heart burst. He also asked consent before our first time, and then checked in with me regularly the first few times that we had sex. It really added to me falling for him, especially coming out of a relationship where I had no say and my input wasn't important. Relieved that he's the kind of guy who wants to get consent. Sure, asking isn't always sexy, although it can be, depending on body language, but it definitely makes me feel more positive about him. Swoon. If we were having a moment then I would prefer we just lean into it, but if it's a goodbye kind of question then I like that. My now husband asked permission for our first ever kiss, and I gave it. It actually made the moment really sweet. That was 10 years ago. We were in our senior year. For me it kind of ruins the moment. Yes, I think you should watch the signals your date is giving you and make your decision accordingly, but it should be done in the right moment. And if you understand basic social cues, you'll know when it's the right moment. My current S.O. kissed me spontaneously and passionately, and I loved it. The confidence he had in that moment was so sexy, and I love that he took the risk. You just have to wait for the right moment. The ratio of women here saying yes I prefer to be asked to know it ruins the moment is like 20:1. I'm not a betting man, but I think asking is the way to go. I think it's sweet, and I would personally like it. I'm not a really easy to read person on a date for some reason, and I've been kissed / almost kissed few times by people I wouldn't have kissed if they asked first. I went on a date where he did say he wanted to kiss me, but also asked, "Can I kiss you?" I didn't feel ready, so I did decline, and he was understanding, but I loved the fact he asked and didn't just reach in for a kiss. For me, my now husband and I had already said we liked each other and wanted to make things official, boyfriend/girlfriend. We'd also held hands and kissed on the cheek. We were young and both virgins lol. So the next day after our date, I asked if he could kiss me, and he did. It was a very sweet, slightly awkward, but ultimately a great moment. I'm really glad I asked, and I'm glad he waited for me to give him a sign or verbal encouragement to go ahead. Then we made out plenty in the following days. My so didn't so much ask as stated something like I really need to do this now or I never will, and leaned in for this really deep, intense kiss. Hands running through my hair and everything. It was amazing. I've never been kissed, so I'd probably feel all sorts of emotional. Be all up in my feelings that someone actually wants to kiss me, but I have to go on our actual date first lol. My boyfriend asked. First, I thought it was sexy. We're only at 7 months now, but I'm all sorts of beyond in like with him. Disclaimer, I'm a lesbian. This is my move, but I only pull it if I know the date is going really well. It's a gut thing. It's had a 100% success rate. Asking if you can kiss her has an interesting way of isolating the moment. Suddenly this thing right here is just about the two of you. Plus, it's just made all the more cute and memorable and enjoyable when you know without a doubt that she wants you to kiss her. It allows you to enjoy it more. Enthusiastic consent is swoon worthy. The one complication is that I usually do coffee on first dates. So before we leave the coffee shop I always excuse myself to the bathroom and pound some gum for however long I'm in there. Then spit it out, so she never knows. This is key. Usually by then my lipstick will have worn off too. So I swap it out for strawberry chapstick. Also key. I'll apply it in the bathroom. And then again just before I'm about to ask. Not always subtly. Where and when I ask changes. But it almost never happens in front of others. Mostly, I just want the moment to be about us and only us. I'll wait until there's a lull in the conversation and just look at her. My heart is pounding. I look away for a beat and then back at her. She's the only person in the world and it's quiet and maybe it's a tiny bit awkward too. But that's okay. It's not nervous tension, but nervous intention. Then with the smallest, softest voice, I'll break the silence. Can I kiss you? Apostrophe. Yes, she says. And I'll take a step towards her. And then 2 out of 3 times I'll promptly trip. Probably because in that moment I'm so focused on her and her eyes that I forget what feet even are. It's unbearably cute. And she laughs. And with that smile still on her face, I lean in. Fella here. It's always been a rule of mine that I don't kiss on the first date, even if there are fireworks going off. Now in a situation like that I do acknowledge it, but by telling them I really want to see them again. If it's still there on the second date then I let them know that I've been thinking about kissing them since after the first one and it always seems to go over very well. Most like the anticipation and build up. I have had a few wonder why I waited. Which I always reply back with saying that it was out of respect or just confirmation of the chemistry. It's never not gone over well and always is appreciated by women. In my experience at least. I feel like I'm in the minority here saying that I'm not a fan of this. It's happened once or twice and honestly I was pretty turned off and said no. That being said, I'm a very forward/flirty type of girl, so I make it pretty obvious if it's go time for a kiss or will make the move myself. I'm right there with you. I cringe when they ask this. Usually because I'm pretty obvious if I'm into them, so the ones that have asked are guys that I'm totally not feeling it with. I had that happen to me. I was super impressed and happy that someone asked if they could instead of just assuming they have access to my body. I've never assumed I had access to anyone's body when I've gone in for the kiss without asking. Times are changing though. I grew up learning that the smart thing to do was to read the situation and be sensitive to how the other person is feeling. And I definitely knew when a girl was feeling it vs not feeling it. But now I'm questioning everything. Like, did those girls think I was brazenly taking advantage of them when I just thought I was being smooth? It was super awesome cause I think the tension has been so damn high for us. We kissed for like an hour lol. But we broke up. Bleh. But it was a super memorable and hot first kiss that I wouldn't change it for anything. A bit weirded out to be honest. If the date isn't progressing to the point where a kiss is inevitable then that question might quickly turn me off a bit if it just comes out of the blue with no build up. Unless of course you had insane chemistry and it's the end of the night and you've been strolling hand in hand and he then stops, leans you against a railing or wall, leans in close and then asks it. Then he'll yeah, that's hot! Exclamation mark. I guess it depends on the woman. I have heard a few times by women that sometimes they are turned off by that question because they want it to be passionate and something done in the heat of the moment and that question can ruin that moment. Some women find assertiveness and confident men sexy and appealing. Other women find it cute or gentlemanlike if you ask. I guess you have to find out what kind of woman you are dating and feel what vibe she's sending out to you. Yeah, I'm seeing that in this thread. A lot of the women who say it turns them off seem to be more obvious and direct in their flirting. So someone with a similar flirting style is preferable. I think it's nice to be asked if we are on the first few dates. Since I'm not much a flirty gal to begin with, haha. I appreciate the gesture, and depending on the tone of voice, it can cute or very hot. It's good. Nothing awkward, cringy or creepy about it. Just know that there are more than one answer options. So ask when you're pretty sure the other person will say yes. For example, I was on a second date with this guy who took me to a concert and I asked him if he wanted to hold hands and he said no. So that was that. And no, we didn't have a third date. I always thought I'd hate it if a guy asked me, like if I want you to kiss me I'll send the signal and you should be picking up on it if you're into me too. I've been kissed plenty of times without being asked and never considered any of them non-consensual. However, my current boyfriend asked me on our first date and I actually thought it was cute. I always thought it'd be kinda a turn off, but it was fine. I still poke fun at him for it though. My boyfriend asked this when he visited my place for the first time and he was going back to his apartment. In my opinion it's super sweet to ask. I did this with my last partner, male here, after feeling a connection growing all night. At the end, right before we were going to leave the venue we were at for our date, while the music was still playing I took her by the shoulders and said I've never met someone as special as you in years. And I was wondering all night if I could kiss you right now, and she nodded, took off her glasses, and we passionately kissed for a long time. Semicolon. And I overheard two people behind me say, "Did you just hear that?" He asked her if he could kiss her instead of just doing it. And look, they're going at it like mad lovers. That's amazing. So I'd say I did the right thing, even if it could have made me feel like a fool. Semicolon. Hopefully that wasn't just her, but all women. When I met my now husband in the initial stages of us meeting, he asked me if he could hold my hand. It was the sweetest thing ever. Apart from consent being great, I think how it's asked makes a huge difference. There's a nervous "can I kiss you?" which is sweet, but probably not all fireworks. And then there's the flirty "can I kiss you?" which could be fun. And there's passionate "can I kiss you?" It's cute in theory, but I'm too nervous to reject people. I prefer if they don't do anything and just let me make it obvious that I'm open to a kiss, body language etc. It ruins the moment. If you are that uncertain if you should kiss me or not, then clearly we are not working out / it's too soon to be kissing me. I'm not a massive fan. Like it's not a deal breaker. Might be kinda quite in some contexts, or if I'm really into him. But TBH, if you can't tell whether we have enough chemistry for you to kiss me, then you probably shouldn't. With this in mind, I'm pretty good at nonverbal communication. I'm pretty explicit when I'm interested, and I'm comfortable saying no. Just to give another side of this, my boyfriend can be pretty jumpy when people come up behind him / from the side. And when we first started dating, if I would just lean in to kiss him when he wasn't expecting it, it would make him jump and would ruin it for both of us. So I learned to always say something like "I'm gonna kiss you now," as him leaning in, which gives him the opportunity to kiss me back, lean his cheek towards me if that's what he'd prefer, or stop me altogether if he doesn't want it right now. Boys like consent too. It's okay, but personally I prefer the tension and uncertainty, and then bam, kiss happening. It's more exciting. I absolutely hate it. The best compromise I ever came across was my ex, who didn't ask for permission. Paresi just said he really wanted to kiss me. My response was, "Don't ask, just do," and he absolutely dove at me, and we had a super hot makeout session that I don't think would have happened if he actually asked for permission to kiss me, because that would have absolutely turned me off. If you're close enough, it's because I want you there. If I didn't, you wouldn't be close enough. But I know I'm just one woman with very specific preferences and training, and no one should ever base their behavior on this one person's post. But again, my current boyfriend just ducking kissed me and kissed me like he was so dang hungry, which was and is so freaking hot to me. So know that there are some women out there who like the assertiveness. Close bracket. Edit. I see now that I'm in the minority, but still, I hate it. So, take that for what it's worth. Man here. On my first date with my now fiancé, I asked her would you be comfortable with a goodnight kiss, to which she replied she would like. To me, I like the idea of asking. It seems more gentlemanlike, and way easier to avoid any awkward, uncomfortable moment trying to land a kiss. Plus, even as she says no, you have another opportunity to show her that you respect her decision. Boundaries. and don't prioritize the physical things as much. I'm very clear with my actions as to whether or not I'm willing to be kissed, so the question really isn't necessary for me. I have no interest in playing hard to get, and honestly, I'll probably have shown signs of affection before this point anyway. Being asked just doesn't get me going in my head while I'm imagining it. That said, I've only ever been asked like that by timid dudes I wasn't really into in the first place. I'm sure it would be hot if it was a man I was really into who was obviously comfortable with himself. But since my experience has never been that, I just picture a sweaty nervous dude asking for permission because he can't read the obvious situation and decide whether he will be rejected. It's sweet. I've been asked that, but I just feel it kind of ruins the mood, haha. I think that just by reading the situation you can tell if it's appropriate to kiss or not. I have had that happen, and I absolutely loved it. It was super hot and made me feel respected. I think it's really hot. Makes them sound direct and confident while also caring about how I want things to go. If they have a sexy voice too, I just melt. I have, after a date. We were in the car and I knew I didn't want to do after politely saying no. I tried leaving and he got upset and confused why I declined. He did accept my answer and I quickly left. It was awkward, but I give him balls to ask lol. I feel like, if I was younger, I'd appreciate it, but now I'd find it to take away from the mood a little. It's sexy. I love it. I love when guys ask me that. I always ask the same thing. Removes the awkwardness of making a move, also allows for consent. I'd rather have that sense of communication and a way to say no if I need to than to have some awkward guy stare at me trying to figure out how to kiss me. It takes away from a moment if a guy is busy stuck in his head trying to make a move and be romantic and he has no clue if that's what I want. Asking works with anyone. After the night is done, no one is going to be thinking, why did he ask to kiss me? That only happens in movies. If you think a little question is going to ruin your sloppy mouth 6 moment, I always ask guys if I can kiss them. How it's said also matters. You can passionately mumble it, moan it, whisper it, look them in the eyes and say it. It's the same as being communicative during sex. I think I'd want someone to ask me if they can put their dumb eye in my butt before they did it. 45 yo female. I appreciate the respect. I'm also okay with a guy going in for the kiss. I'm comfortable turning him away if I'm not interested. Depends. Generally I find the question a bit of a turn off. I prefer a man that's confident enough to go in for the kiss without the question. Shyness and nervousness turns me off a bit. I'd rather be asked than have someone I don't want to kiss me. Usually it's been me offering my lips for a kiss, like coming halfway and having him kiss me. Basically, you don't have to ask with words, but don't go all the way in for it. Offer your lips up for a kiss. Come closer. If they back off and don't come forward to you, abort mission. I personally really like this. If you ask it the right way, especially if we've never kissed before, I think it's really sweet, and depending on how you say it, it can definitely be sexy. I had never been asked before and used to be one of those girls that thought it was lame and that guys should just go for it, but on my last date, the guy actually asked and it made me melt. He had a light charming southern accent, so that certainly didn't hurt. I do this all the time to the guy I'm FWB with cause I just think it's important. Guys aren't always in the mood for kissing or sex, and I think it's important to ask. Because I've definitely had men go in for a kiss when I wasn't wanting it. If some guy asked if it was okay to kiss me, I'd be 100% happy that they asked. I hate it. It's only happened when I was really uncomfortable and giving off I'm not having a good time vibes. It's not offensive or upsetting. It's just not very attractive. Edit, just to me. Can't speak for anyone else. But and don't think I'd ever say yes to that. Coming from a man or a woman. It would just kill the mood for me. I expect the guy to understand whether or not I'm up for it based on how the evening went. I mean, while the gesture is sweet and all, I would want a spontaneous kiss. I don't think there is anything wrong with it for either gender, but if we continue with all of these consent preconditions in romantic scenarios, We will end up in a world where reading body language and subtle facial expressions will die out. I think when finding a partner, having a good mutual understanding of the vibes is a crucial aspect in finding a good fit. If we reduce everything to questions that have to be agreed upon, non-verbal communication will be less and less relevant to get your bases, and I think that is not going to improve relationship quality long term. Let me add that I do believe I understand where the whole need to even consider questions of consent stems from. There have been too many male assholes just forcing themselves onto someone without reading jack shit. And I understand how sexy cute politeness can be in a time that follows decades of horribly self-entitled dating. But being sensitive, empathic and confident is surely the most sexy there is, and will be missed in the future when you'll have to ask for a date, a deep long gaze into another's eyes, or a first kiss formally via a pre-agreed upon piece of paper. Clarification: there is nothing wrong with being shy! Exclamation mark. And variety will always be important for life, no matter what area. After having dated a sexually/romantically overconfident person, I might find it extremely refreshing to meet someone overly respectful and reserved. But I think to ask verbally for something that is part of the non-verbal intimate human language should keep being considered an act of shyness, and not the standard, for lack of a better word. Edit. Reading a bit through some comments again, I have to add that I'm European, and we don't sue each other for silly stuff like unwanted kisses. I guess that makes a big difference when wanting to make sure about consent. Because you are actually scared of paying big for a minuscule little attempt at a kiss. What a world XD. Honestly, the biggest factor for me is not whether or not a guy asks, but if I want to kiss him. If I'm attracted to the person, they could spit food on me while asking, "Can I kiss you?" and I'd probably say yes. If I'm not, it doesn't matter how politely they ask or how suavely they move in. I'll probably decline. If I'm not interested and someone makes a move, that's not a violation of my consent. I get that, unless you're a minbreder. It's hard to tell unless you try. But if I reject that move, and you keep going, this has happened so many times. That's stuck. The ask doesn't make it more or less consensual for me. It's just a style thing. The willful ignorance of my clear verbal or non-verbal when I'm contorting my body to get away from you, but you can't hear me say no because your tongue is in my mouth. It's still a no, is when I feel violated. Love 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 it. That's how I had my first kiss. My husband asked me that after our first date almost 7 years ago, and I thought it was sweet and really appreciated it. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.